So Doja Cat recently went viral because she dropped the cover art to her upcoming album, and then it just so happened to be the exact same cover art as another band and their album that's coming up. So Doja Cat and her team quickly scrambled, they found new cover art, and now that's the new cover art for her album. So then when it comes to, well, how do we have an airtight contract with the person who's designing our cover art so that we don't have these kind of double dipping, so the graphic designer or the artist is just selling the same picture to multiple people? We're going to cover that in today's video. Let's just jump in really fast and talk about the scope of the work. And we're actually discussing this with a student today about when you give direction to someone and you go, obviously you're the artist, the graphic designer, the painter, they're the artist, and you go, what I'm thinking is, let's pretend we're Doja Cat. I'm thinking I really want like a spider or maybe a couple of spiders, and I want to have like a droplet of blood. So that's kind of what I think. Go make it. And now ultimately you can't control what the final product is, but you can give references and be like, this is, kind of what I want it to look like. You need to still define what the actual scope of work is and what the product is, because if you don't have them deliver something that you like, or let's say they deliver a hamster with a blood drop, you're like, that's not what our contract said. You have to make sure it's actually in the contract.
Just clarity, just having conversations with people. Like, you're not, this is your art, this is your cover art is the first piece of a glimpse into what your music is going to sound like. It's the first thing that people are going to see. Even when they're searching you on Spotify, they'll see your cover art and they're going to try to get the vibe. You want to get the vibe right, so you need to be clear on what it is you're looking for and make sure that your artist understands it, whether it's your cover art, whether it's your website, whether it's anything that you're doing.
All right, so then exclusivity. So in the instance of Doja Cat and her cover art, in the agreement that they had with this guy, maybe they didn't have an agreement. You never know. I don't care who it is. I represent some of the biggest artists around the world, and they still do handshake deals. And they don't have like it's crazy. So let's pretend they didn't even have a contract. Well, you do want to get a contract because then you should say, hey, if you're making my super great album cover art, you can't use this for any other reason than you can post it on your website. You can promote yourself and say, hey, I made this thing for Doja Cat, but that's it. You're not allowed to also sell it to this other band who's going to release an album on the same day as me.
I mean, that's the whole point. You want to have your original work. You want to have your exclusive covers. You want to have your images and your logos. Like, you want to have your deal so you can sell t-shirts with it and it really kind of exploit whatever it is that you're doing it. You're thinking this is your marketing.
So then let's actually talk about the usage rights. All right? So if you're the artist and you happen to be watching this, you want to define how the person uses your picture. So this is a really smart way for you to make money. And then conversely, if you're the artist, a way for you to avoid having to pay additional fees. But basically, if you negotiate the uses and you're like, hey, you can use the cover art and put it on your digital album, but you can't use it for vinyls. You can't use it for CDs. And if they do want to do that, they have to come and pay you an additional licensing fee. So this is like just smart kind of business tactics to make more money. But again, define the usage, because maybe someone makes it into a t-shirt, right? If now I'm the artist, right? So meaning the graphic designer or the painter, if you are using the picture that you licensed from me for your album art, but you're putting it on t-shirts and you're making hats and I'm not getting kickback, again, if it's not in the agreement, it leaves room for a dispute. Yeah. So this is something we definitely want to cover.
And you're going to want to do those things. So you want to have it for your own protection, so you have the freedom. I mean, you can't just go, I won't bring it up, I'll just do it and we'll see what happens. Like, you could end up at some point, creating something really cool. So think of a group like, what was that group? Him. And they had that heartagram logo, right? And then Bam started using the heartagram logo or something like that. They both started kind of using it, but that became like a whole brand into itself, which is like that heartagram logo. And you never know if you want to, work out those deals and those conversations ahead of time, especially if you get something really cool.
Yeah. And then also with payments, right? So specifically, you want to try to, if you're the graphic designer, you want to give as much money upfront as possible. The reason you do this is because after you've already done the work, maybe they take it and run with it and you don't want to sue them and they haven't paid you. Who knows? Conversely, if you're the person paying the money, if they don't deliver something you like, again, it was supposed to be a spider, they delivered a hamster, and you gave them all the money, you're
Mhm.
kind of ass
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
So here's my suggestion, pay half upfront to secure the relationship, and then you'll pay the other half once they've delivered the final product and have that in your agreement.
absolutely. That kind of seems like a no-brainer, but a lot of people don't because they're very nervous in making any kind of business or transactional deals
Right.
sometimes with people, especially with like creatives and stuff, or if they really respect somebody, or this goes for any kind of field. It's not just, exclusive to art, but just anything that you're doing in those kind of things, like, money deposits understood. But then yeah, final payment on delivery.
Yeah, and then also make sure you outline the timeline, right? Are you paying someone to get you something in a year? Are you paying to get it to you in 6 months? Like for me, I'm usually like as soon as humanly possible. So if you can set an actual timeline, that will help you to move things along.
That's another thing that, people don't necessarily, they feel like, oh, they just were here. We just did an 8-hour video shoot. And like, I don't want to harass them. How soon are they going to get it to me? That's why you should just have it discussed ahead of time. So and that's just a simple question. Like, so what's your general turnaround when you're talking to people, and then kind of
That's
get it
right.
and then put it in the agreement. Like there's ways that you can not seem pushy and just like super eager. I know producers kind of hate it when you're in a session and they're like, oh, just give me the demo real quick after they just record something. Just give me something I can take home, and like it's not mixed, it doesn't sound right. There's no, it sounds great. It's like people get real eager beaver.
Do you mean when the artist? I think he's talking about me because whenever we're done
Oh,
with
no, not
music,
you. I'm talking about other artists. You're not as bad. You kind of were like that in the beginning, but no, I know
I
now you
always
just
tell
want
you
it
to
the
send
next
me
day. Yeah.
demos.
You
What's wrong
you
with
always
you?
want it the next morning so
Better
you can
send me a
listen to it.
damn demo. In practical kind of application for the stuff that we're talking about, take control. If you are hiring someone, sorry, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm the boss. If I can be the boss, you're the boss. So if you hire someone, just be clear. You don't have to be a dick about it, but you can just be like, here's my specifications. I really want this in this certain amount of time. Here's what I'm looking for. This is what I'm willing to pay. No, sorry, I'm not going to pay you all the money up front, even though you
Yes.
want it, but I will meet you halfway. I'll pay you half now, half later. And then, try to have in your contract something in regards to termination. So if for some reason you do need to fire the person, two things. One, you should always require a copy of the actual Photoshop session
Right.
or Pro Tools, like, or whatever thing that is being edited,
Right.
have the actual session, right? Project so that you can edit it yourself. That's number one. But number two, that your contract says you own the thing. It should always say you're going to own the thing under copyright law. And even if you fire the person, even if you terminate the contract or the relationship, you are still going to own it. Please do this.
Absolutely. And going to your point of, it's in anything you want. If you're working with a producer, if you're working with a mixer and they're not, giving you the product they want, or they're giving you pushback, I've had situations where, I've kind of had to eat the cost and I just kind of paid them anyway and I moved on, but I never worked with them again and made sure that everything was kind of clear, the expectation. Some artists and some, if you're doing a music video, some directors or whatever, they won't necessarily want, or editors won't want to give you their products. They don't want to show you their secret sauce. A lot of times, if you don't have the plugins, it's not going to work anyway. So you can kind of make concessions. But like even for music videos, I make sure that we get all of the raw footage of everything to have backed up in case there's a problem with the editor down the line. I didn't just lose my whole product on a project, or now I have to wait weeks to whenever he's available to come pick up a drive that has it, if everything's even on there, because now there's some kind of weird thing. Always plan for that stuff, and kind of cover yourself and make decisions on what you're willing to live without and what you are. And sometimes it's just not going to be a good fit with that producer, with that graphic artist, because they're just not cool with it. And that's understandable. Cool. So just move on and find somebody that is, because you need to protect your work. This is for your project. It doesn't do you any good if you can't.
That's right. So, question, how does it work with royalty free images? Is that all fair game? Depends. So, if you were to get royalty free images, stock photos, stock pictures, whatever, and you were to get it, let's say, from an online platform like Pixels or Unsplash, So you sign up, you pay a subscription, or Splice if you're a music producer, you
Right.
pay a subscription fee. It's royalty free because you're getting a license to use it. Please make sure you read the terms of use, because a lot of times they'll be like, sure, you can use the picture, no big deal. But then you read the terms and it's like, hey, FYI, you
Right.
cannot use this in your commercial stuff.
Right.
You can use it for your personal use. You can use it to promote yourself. You can't use it in the song that you are selling. Or right. So sort of, if it's royalty free, the idea is that you are not having to pay anything for it. You don't have to get copyright clearances. It just depends on where you're getting it from, who actually owns it
Right.
and is giving you this license.
And
All right.
don't be surprised, and just don't be surprised if if you're just using royalty free stuff, or whatever, and then you kind of come into a hiccup. Well, like, just don't be surprised and prepared for that. So make sure that when you're using this stuff, you're kind of at least altering it. I guess that's more for like splice samples and stuff. You're kind of doing more altering of things, because what happens is, especially when you're using loops, is when this stuff gets uploaded to DSPs, or just YouTube or whatever, and you like Shazam it, your song sometimes won't even come up, because if you're just taking a straight up loop, somebody else has already claimed that loop. So same thing with YouTube videos. But
Yeah, and guys, I mean, even in the videos that we post on this channel, we often use B-roll. So we have stock pictures and videos that kind of showcase the artist in the studio or whatever. And so that's through a program, not a program, a platform that we have paid
right.
to use the licensed media. And so again, read the terms of service and
But
on what
just
it's
do it
worth.
right. Just do it
Yeah.
right. Just don't just take stuff.
Right. Don't go to Google. But it's royalty free on Google. No, that's not quite how it works. So when you are crafting an airtight contract so that you are protected when it comes to hiring graphic designers and painters and different people who are helping with your artwork in any kind of way, have an agreement first and foremost. But the things we've talked about in this video specifically have all that stuff in your contract.